Step behind the laughter and discover where reality blurs into legend. Hogan's Heroes was more than just a comedy. It was a phenomenon filled with secrets as bold as its humor. In a time when the world was still reeling from the impact of World War II, a group of writers, actors, and visionaries did something wildly unexpected. They turned a Nazi POW camp into the setting of a network sitcom. Sounds outrageous?
It was.
But it worked. Not just because the show was funny, but because behind every joke was a bold risk, an unbelievable backstory, and a cast with lives more gripping than anything the script could imagine. This wasn't just a series, it was a carefully crafted rebellion disguised as primetime entertainment. The story didn't begin in a prison camp. In fact, it almost didn't begin at all. Originally, the idea was for a show set in a regular American jail. But when creators Bernard Fine and Albert S. Ruddy caught wind of a similar project already in development at NBC, a show called Campo 44, they made a split-second decision that changed television history. They rewrote the entire concept in a single day, pivoting from domestic incarceration to the unlikely world of a German POW camp in World War II. It was a gamble that could have backfired spectacularly. Instead, it launched one of the most audacious and iconic sitcoms of its era. At the center of it all was director Robert Butler, who got involved through a casual agent recommendation. What might have been just another job turned into something magical. The first pilot, shot in black and white, looked nothing like the show we now recognize. The prison was called Camp 13, General Burkhalter was still a colonel, and Carter was supposed to be a one-episode wonder with the rank of lieutenant. Actor Leonid Kinski appeared as a Russian character who never made it past the pilot, citing his discomfort with making comedy about Nazis. The creative direction was still finding its footing, but one thing was already clear. This was going to be a show that played by its own rules. Those rules included inventing the fictional Stalag 13, modeled after real World War II stalags, but with a twist. Here, the grim realities of war were softened, turned upside down, and then wrapped in wit. Audiences saw Allied prisoners outsmarting their clueless German captors, slipping in and out of the camp at will, running underground radio operations, and turning sabotage into slapstick. What they didn't see was the legal storm brewing behind the scenes. The 1953 film Stalag 17 bore a resemblance in theme, and its writers sued the producers of Hogan's Heroes, claiming the show copied their idea. The courtroom drama briefly swung in their favor, but a judge eventually ruled that the show's tone, satirical rather than serious, set it apart. The lawsuits didn't stop there. In 2012, more disputes over film rights led to arbitration, and Bernard Fine was awarded separate movie rights through a deal with Mark Cuban's company. Plans for a film surfaced in 2014, long after the original show had ended, but never forgotten. If the legal battles were complicated, the casting decisions were nothing short of poetic. Many of the actors who portrayed bumbling Nazi officials were actually Jewish, some even survivors of the Holocaust. Werner Klemperer, who famously played Colonel Klink, was born to a Jewish family in Cologne and fled Nazi Germany as a child. He only agreed to the role under one condition: the Nazis could never win. The show honored that promise. Robert Clary, who played the lovable Corporal LeBeau, had endured the unimaginable. He was a Holocaust survivor, imprisoned in Buchenwald, tattooed by the Nazis, and one of only 12 children out of 130 in his transport to survive. He brought not just talent, but soul to the screen. His presence was a quiet rebellion, his performance a living tribute to resilience. Bob Crane and Richard Dawson, playing Colonel Hogan and Corporal Newcook, weren't just actors either. They were veterans. Their real military backgrounds gave weight to their performances, even in a show fueled by comedy. Crane's charm and Dawson's wit weren't just scripted, they were instinctive. Colonel Klink's character became instantly recognizable with his monocle and ever-present but never-lit cigar, making him the perfect blend of pomp and incompetence. His out-of-touch style, including a pickelhaube helmet from World War I, became a visual gag that said everything without a word. As sharp-eyed fans noticed, the show was sprinkled with deliberate anachronisms. Props and equipment from the 1950s and 60s made their way onto a set supposedly stuck in the 1940s. Top secret documents were often printed in English, and some of the character code names sounded more like fairy tale references than military code. Papa Bear, Goldilocks, and even LeBeau's mysterious nickname, Cockroach, all pointed to the writers having a little fun with logic. Sometimes, these quirks were just inside jokes, like Carter wearing a jacket that had already made appearances in both Von Ryan's Express and Autofocus. Other times, they were cultural nods, like signage referencing Hamelin, the town of the Pied Piper. It was these hidden gems that kept fans watching closely and smiling quietly. Sergeant Schultz's famous line, "I know nothing," wasn't in the script. It came straight from actor John Banner, who improvised it on set. It was his way of protecting his character from responsibility, a hilarious shield against the chaos around him. That kind of spontaneity gave the show its heart. Colonel Hogan's full name, Robert Edward Hogan, was rarely used, staying true to military formality. But the moments of intimacy, like Kinch calling Hogan Skipper, gave the characters a warmth that made their bonds feel real. Some cast members had roles beyond what we saw. Bernard Fox played both Colonel Crittenden and Captain Rodney, showing off his versatility with every change in accent or timing. And Bob Crane's musical talents weren't hidden. He was an excellent drummer who sometimes brought his skills to the set. Dawson had a singing career before acting, and others in the cast were no strangers to music either. An official Hogan's Heroes soundtrack exists, proof that the show's talents ran deeper than comedy. In Germany, the show didn't air until 1992. Nearly 3 decades after its American debut, Germans were finally introduced to the comedy that had reshaped the way Americans viewed war on television. But localizing the humor wasn't easy. Poor translations and awkward dubbing led to rewrites and revisions. Nazi salutes became herbal greetings like Heil Krauter, and war factories were rebranded as candy producers. Over time, the edits made the show more palatable, and German viewers eventually welcomed the POW prisoners into their living rooms. For actors like Leon Iskin, who played General Burkhalter and bore physical scars from childhood punishment by the SS, the broadcast carried haunting weight. His presence on the show was more than performance, it was a reclamation. Accuracy wasn't always the priority. Officers and enlisted men shared the same barracks, something that would never happen in a real POW camp. Uniforms lacked consistency, and pop culture references sometimes jumped ahead a decade or two. Still, none of that mattered. The spirit of the show wasn't in its realism. It was in its audacity to laugh where others feared to speak. Some behind-the-scenes facts are almost too strange to believe. Colonel Klink, terrible at violin in the series, was a skilled musician in real life. John Banner joked about his character's unhappy marriage, while in reality, he enjoyed his wife's cooking so much he put on significant weight. Even the snow wasn't real, it was just salt or white paint depending on the budget. The Stalag 13 set was reused in other productions before being torn down, its fictional legacy ending quietly in industrial rubble. Vehicles, too, told their own stories. General Burkhalter's Mercedes-Benz W31 was one of only 57 ever made, and it showed up only once on the show. The G4 parade car, used by Nazi elite, became a signature in the opening credits. Today, props like Klink's helmet and Hogan's cap are displayed in museums, cherished relics from a show that refused to be forgotten. In its 6-season run, Hogan's Heroes aired 168 episodes, earning 12 Emmy nominations and winning 2, both for Klemperer. It even received early NAACP recognition for positive Black representation, a rare honor for its time. Its most surreal accolade? Being ranked among the most unexpected TV moments in history. After all, who would think a Nazi POW camp could be funny? And yet it was. The cast chemistry was undeniable. Guest stars like William Christopher, Harold J. Stone, and Antoinette Bauer added depth, but the real magic came from the bonds formed behind the scenes. Reunion specials, crossover appearances, and blooper reels show a team that genuinely loved working together. Their laughter was real, even when the subject matter wasn't. Continuity may not have been the show's strength. Serial numbers changed, Carter's skill set fluctuated wildly, and the camp's name switched more than once, but none of that took away from its charm. These inconsistencies became part of its unique rhythm, a wink from the creators to the audience that said, "We're here to have fun." Hogan's Heroes stands today as proof that comedy can survive even the darkest settings. It's not just about clever scripts or catchy taglines. It's about bravery. The bravery to laugh, to challenge norms, and to fill a show with Jewish actors playing their former oppressors, turning pain into performance. The humor may have been broad, the inaccuracies plenty, but the impact was real. It made people smile when smiling felt complicated. It offered wit in a world that needed healing. And that's what makes Hogan's Heroes more than a sitcom. It makes it a classic. If you loved uncovering these incredible behind-the-scenes facts and surprising moments from Hogan's Heroes, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that bring classic Hollywood to life in the most unexpected ways.